The NWF Champion Ace.
Pitts has called the match. For some strange reason, he's giving the victory to Kid Kelsey.
Mr. X declared the new champion.
The new champion, Mr. X.
He's won the title match. Get it back, bring him around. Don't you cross me, your new champion.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's Thursday night, and your favorite NWF podcaster is here. It is I, Dixie Dave, and this guy over here, the most biased person in the world.
Whoa. You're already firing shots across the bow? Where does this come from, may I ask?
Well, I happened to take a few minutes, tune into the show last Friday, and I'm going to have to get a hold of Nathan and tell him he's going to have to put a second official on that match because I'm biased being against Ricky.
You think I'm being biased against Ricky?
Well, I mean, you're always talking about badass Ben Nelson this, badass Ben Nelson that.
I mentioned badass once, just at the intro.
You're so pro Ben. I worry about Canary Kid's chances in this match.
Canary Kid has a chip on his shoulder. I don't know where it's coming from. And I am doing Canary Kid a favor by being rough with him because he needs to see things right. I'm doing it for him, Dave. You just don't see it. You fall into the trap just like Ricky does. So listen, Ben Nelson and Canary Kid, I have said from the get-go, they're the two best up-and-comers. And I don't even want to call Ricky an up-and-comer. He's been doing this for 3 years. And they're just in my opinion, Dave, they're the best that NAPW has to offer that represents the NWF belt, in my opinion. Yeah. That fair statement?
That would be a fair statement.
And so I want to see just an excellent championship match is what I'm after. Now, you talk about biased, you talk about that. This Canary Kid, now he's young, 17 years old, just like Ben, and he has the attitude of a 17-year-old. He comes in and he lips off to me, and he shouts his mouth off, and he disrespects me in front of my peers with Kelsey and Ace, as you've seen. And you're telling me I'm being biased? Listen to this. Not only does he do that and be disrespectful to me, but I did what I could to try to guide him the right way, but he just wants to do his own thing, and so be it. So, I'm at the point now. All I know is this. when I mentioned to him the contingency plan that I'd have to get in the ring if he beats Ben, it looked like he's seen a ghost in the beginning there. If you notice, his eyes were like bugs. He had bug eyes. His mouth, he didn't know what to say, and then he quickly puts the facade on that Canary Kid's so good at, and then just puts on the act. And I know how he really feels. And yeah, I bet he is thinking about what he's going to do.
Well,
Because the last thing he wants is to deal with me, believe me, because I won't be in a good mood if that happens.
no, you see, Crusher, the last thing he wants is to leave that ring as NWF World Heavyweight Champion and get placed in handcuffs for abusing a senior citizen.
What about me? Maybe I'll get put in handcuffs for abusing a minor. That's a two-way street. Listen, and besides, that means he has to beat me. You're insinuating he's going to be able to beat me.
Crusher, we all know your time has come and gone. My time has come and gone.
I tell you, I don't know why I put up with Dixie Dave anymore. You should be supporting the NWF, not Canary Kid.
I'm supporting who I believe is going to be the future NWF World Heavyweight Champion.
Well, we are going to have a future NWF World Heavyweight Champion, Dave, and it's not very far away. We're talking a month. I'm excited. So this is a very monumental time for the league. For the first time, a new champion reigns again with that NWF belt, and who knows where he'll go with it. You know, he's talking whether that be Ben or Ricky. Like, they both have plans, right?
Exactly.
So, like, whoever wins, like, who knows where they're going to go with it. So, you know, obviously there's going to be one winner. So when as I say, like, who knows where they're going to go with it. I'm just glad to see it getting put out there, and maybe, they both travel different places, so it would be just awesome to see that belt go with them. Exactly. So I think it's going to be awesome.
That's my belief too, and I believe Canary's going to do a good job at it.
I didn't say Canary though. I said either one. You can sit here and cheerlead for Canary and think he's going to win and everything, but Ben Nelson's got just as much of a shot. And matter of fact, Ben Nelson's back's against the wall, Dave. He's got to beat. Now, they did the stupid best out of 2 out of 3. I don't know why they did that. So Ben's got to beat Canary May 17th coming up here at the show at the Lions Den Dojo there. He's got to win to be in it still. So, because if he doesn't, Crusher Crossen's in it then. And I'm coming over there to referee, and if I have to get put in the ring to take care of business,
it's going to send your ego into orbit.
All I know is I feel bad for people like Keaton. He's going to have to watch his hero get beat up by Crusher. That's not going to be a pretty sight. And I don't want to have to do that. I don't have to do that to Keaton. So, you can imagine he'd be probably in tears. So, yeah.
Well, tears because he's worried that seeing that you allow him to stream through our channel, that one of his streaming avenues will go down after you're injured and crippled.
We'll see about that. But Dave, this is NWF Rewind. So let's talk about what we're going to watch today. Now, this is the very first public event that we ever did in the league. I was 16 years old, and we were just, you got to remember, everybody, this league entirely run by me and the group of kids that I was affiliated with at this time. And we put on a live event in Anoka, Minnesota at the Anoka Armory. We didn't know what we were going to get for an attendance, and we were just thrilled when we had over 300 fans packed in there to see this, and all paid admission to see us, and that quite a time. You were one of them, Dave. You were in attendance.
I'll admit, I had not joined the league yet. I wanted to see what it was all about, and after the show, I set up a meeting with you to see how I could join up.
Yep.
Because I didn't have cable at the time.
The thing for us is, we always had like live studio audiences, but it was just us. We made up our studio audience up to this point. And so this is the first time we actually have like legitimate fans that have been watching us for the last 2 years on cable television come to see a live event.
Right.
And so for all of us, I know I speak for everybody when I say this, man, the butterflies, about to go out that door in front of a live crowd like this, and just for the very first time, nerves and everything, and all of us kids at the ages we were at. I was 16, but most of the kids were anywhere from, the Super D's 10 and 11, and then 12, maybe 12, 13 ish.
Yep.
Yeah. So it was.
And then you had, Pretty Boy, who was, aside from not being very pretty, he was over 18, but.
Yeah, he was the adult that, we always say didn't belong, but he did. He did belong because he was a part of the show at that time. And at that time, he really was just trying to make the show as good as it could be, just like the rest of us. But Steve will be the first to tell you ever that, he wasn't a leader. He followed my direction. That's kind of silly. I'm 16 years old and I'm telling this 26-year-old what to do. And that was the relationship.
Yeah.
And, it was not a, and Steve was just a great worker bee. He did whatever I asked. And so it was great. He was great. He was a great hand, having a side man for me, for this.
Right.
Because he was an adult. He could do a lot of things I couldn't, because I didn't have my driver's license yet. Here I am promoting this event at the Anoka Armory. So yeah, it was a fun show. The wrestling, guys, is not really we're not quite there yet, but we're ready enough to go and do this. And old school style wrestling, Dave, was never really polished like it is today anyway.
Right.
So we kind of blended in with that time period, and that's what everybody has to take to remember when they watch this stuff. I noticed when we were watching the preview there on the show when we started that a lot of us, all of us, pretty much still wrestling in socks. That would change after a while, but
we weren't quite to the point of that polished yet, but we were getting there.
Yeah, we were getting there, and we wrestled in the socks. And the reason we did the socks, though, is because none of us could afford any kind of wrestling boot. Didn't even know how to get them at this point until that came from Eddie Sharkey.
Right.
When we met him. But we did the socks because when you pull the socks up nice and high, those 80s tube socks,
yep,
it looked like white wrestling boots from a distance. So,
right.
And that's why we did that. And, I'll tell you, it didn't feel so good when we were when Steve slammed me outside the ring wearing socks. I would say that, but I didn't know he was going to do that. That was kind of a surprise. But Steve kind of helped. Steve guided me a little bit on the slam. We didn't do a full slam. Steve was good at that. He was good at hiding it a little bit, so it wasn't such an impact. But
right.
Wayne's here in the house. He's one of the guys here, and I got to bring his comment in. Wayne, it's good to see you. And he says, and then we're going to get the show started, guys. He said, Dixie Dave, how did you find out about this event if you had not seen the show on cable? So you want to explain that?
Yes. At the time, I had a friend by the name of Terry Block and a friend by the name of Chad Randall, who at the time were a part of the NWF, told me about the show coming up and said I could ride with him to get to the show. So that's how I found out about the National Wrestling Federation.
And while Dave was answering, I know the answer. I've heard it before, but I was making sure the NWF light was on, making sure that everybody can see the Crusher Crossen painting. Well, I made it into a painting. So, Dave, I know you like seeing all that stuff, so I thought I'd make sure you could see that. So, as we watch this event, we won't see Crusher Crossen today, guys. That'll be part 2 when we do the second half of this. When we had Wayne on, speaking of Wayne, and he joined us for the 86, the October card, it was a long night. And we kind of made the executive decision that night that going forward on the armories that we got left, which is this one and the Summer Sizzler, the July card that we haven't shown you guys yet, we're going to split them in 2 just to make it so it's not such a long night. So, it's going to be a long night.
Before we get into the show too far, so we don't forget later on what's coming up on the Video Network.
Actually, I can't. What's coming up on the Video Network is this Superstars Spectacular 86. It's going to hit on the 15th, so I didn't bother with the promo because it's what you've seen on the 3-minute countdown.
Right.
So since it's the same thing, I thought we'll skip that this week.
Well, I just
Yep, I know. Normally I'd have something to show you guys, but it's actually this event. This one will be hitting the video network. So the whole thing, of course, it'll be on the 15th of the month. So yeah, so I hope you guys enjoy this one. Again, these are going to be the first, I don't know, 4 or 5 matches of this. There was, I think, 8 matches on this show. Maybe
I don't
9.
remember what offhand.
Anyways, it's going to be the first half of it was a 2-hour event, so it's the first half. So let's get things started. I know people are wanting to see some of this. And by the way, the restoration on this one was tough. This was probably the hardest armory to restore for some reason. Like, even though July was darker, July restored better. And the reason July restored better is because it was an original unedited copy. This is what I have of that. It was never edited. July is the only armory card that was never aired over cable in full. So it was just on a raw, unedited, just as it was recorded. I have that actual raw tape. And so it just seemed to restore better than this one. The reason this one and that one were hard because there were single camera shots from a distance and it was dark. So that just made it real difficult. So we'll see. It's better than what you've seen before, though. I'll tell you that. But it's just not. I wish it could have turned out cleaner, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But let's get to it and watch some of this. So let's see. Make sure I'm on the right one. There we go. So I'm going to go about 55 minutes on this, Dave.
Alrighty.
That's what it looks like. Wayne, you're out there, so let me know if the audio sounds good, as far as if it's loud enough or quiet, or too quiet, or whatever the case when it starts going.
Welcome to the Anoka Armory Superstars Spectacular 86, the greatest wrestling event ever. Our first match will be the Black Panther.
Yeah, this was never on the DVD. Again, Dave, we're seeing the full stuff that got cut off for the DVD. A lot of this got cut out for the DVD, including that.
Right.
If we just would have left the lights on like this, would have been great. People weren't even all seated yet. They're still getting concessions. So this will fill up even more. And it's going to be the Tokyo Terror, Peter Wynn, or Wayne knows Tokyo. So always rode the bus to school together, they said. And the Black Panther. That would have been Steve Owens, a.k.a. one of the Russian destroyers. This was another alternate character he did. He had a ninja suit, so he wore his ninja suit. So this is a rough one. This is the opening match, and man, it was tough. Steve Owens probably wasn't as polished as all of us, so it was a tough match for him. And he tried to do a kind of a martial arts style match. It just was really tough, though. It was a tough one. Crowd didn't know how to react. Didn't know to boo Tokyo.
And they lock up.
At first.
No one gets the advantage.
I'll tell you, this all went away when the
The
Super Ds and the Rough Russians came out. They quickly booed the Rough Russians and the Iranian Shiek.
Black Panther. Tokyo
And if I'm correct, our referee is Rockin' Ronabaum.
Chad Rancor.
Or Chad Rancor. Okay,
Yep.
yeah.
The late Chad Rancor passed away.
And Tokyo Terror moving around.
Good guy, though.
Yep.
Good wrestler, too.
They lock up again. Oh, and a knee lift.
One of the few wrestlers that actually had an amateur
Black Panther down.
background.
Oh, what do you take down?
Thought I turned this off.
Yeah, your ringer.
Tokyo Terror.
I got mine on silent.
Oh, and a drive on the back.
But you can see it kind of,
He lifts
It'll
kind
end
of-
in a second.
yeah,
Oh, ran
it'll
to make
kind
the
of,
turn.
you know, it's better than it was for sure,
Lifts him
but
up
Right.
again.
it just.
It's better than the basement days.
No, I mean, like, if you ever seen this on the DVD or the original, you know, this is better than, being a restorer right now, it looks a lot better than it did. That's what I'm trying to say.
Right.
It just didn't meet my personal expectations because, Dave, what am I? I'm a perfectionist.
Yep.
And so I want it absolutely perfect. Sorry, guys, that's just in my DNA. That's why when I see Canary Kids dropkick, I want it better. Yes. Oh, I love needling Ricky. He knows it.
And he's got him. Throws him off the ropes. It's a clothesline again.
You know,
our-
Trey, if you're watching this, you may have to show Crusher how good your drop kick actually is.
Oh, I'm sure he's going to love to do that, too.
And what's he gonna do? Lifts him up?
You know, we'll
No,
be
I'm
spending,
saying
Ricky and I will be
not
spending
very-
time in the ring with the kids' training class, so I'm sure he'll have his opportunity.
Oh, tries to knee drop.
What
Black
I
Panther
wished we
sneaking
would
up
have done
behind
here
him.
is have the
Oh, and
Tokyo
punches him
Terror
to
go
the
against
mat.
Jason Anderson. Them two could work a good match for a martial arts style
Got
match.
him in the headlock.
Right.
Jason Anderson was the original Mr. X2, but he stopped wrestling now. He was here. He was running our music for this show, but he wasn't.
Takedown by
I think it was
Tokyo
another
Terror.
parent situation
He
that
lifts
found
him up.
out and said, "You're not doing this anymore."
And he's
That we never found, you know. And then they just didn't want to.
throws him into the turnbuckle.
As kids, he didn't want to tell us. Jason, they didn't ever wanted to admit that. It would be
Right.
embarrassing. It'd be embarrassing for them to admit
Trying to
that
get him up.
to me.
It looks like for a suplex.
You know, at that age. Yeah.
Yep.
And he's
Nothing
Thank
against
you.
Steve Owens though. You know, Steve was really, his heart was in it. I would just wish he was a little bit better in the ring is all I'm trying to say.
Yep.
lifts him up.
Thankfully for me,
That's a headlock
my mom
on
knew
him.
what my passion
Oh, right
was,
into the turnbuckle
Yeah.
post.
and
And sends him to the mat out
Yep.
of
she
the
knew
ring.
Uh,
that I'd be
Black Panther chases after him.
attempting to do it with
Tokyo
or
Terror
without her
running away.
consent.
Right? And you know, Peter,
Leads him into the
I call him
post.
Peter, but Tokyo Terror, I guess I should say Tokyo because people don't know who I'm talking about when I say Peter. But Tokyo Terror was,
And Black Panther goes in.
he could really sell well, but he has to have
Tokyo Terror
somebody
going back in.
that he can sell with. And I'm
Right.
not
Brings
trying
the
to
Black Panther with
rip
him.
on Steve Owens, who was the Black Panther. I just
And
wish we would have had time to develop
brings
this
his head
Black
over the
Panther
rope.
better before we put him
leads
into a
Black
match like
Panther
this, is what I'm trying to say.
crawling into the ring.
Right.
This is all 2020 hindsight vision,
Now,
guys, that I
what's he
can
gonna do?
easily say today. But back then,
Waiting him up.
you know, we didn't think of it. I mean, we didn't have that quality
Black
control
Panther.
thinking, you know.
Struggling. Oh, but
Yeah,
brings
that's what
him
I'm
down
trying to
the
say.
mat. He's got
And
him
we were
down
just,
the
like I said,
post.
we didn't know what we were going to get for an attendance. Going into this event, I had about 60 some advance tickets sold.
Trapping him from a figure four.
That was it. And that included all you, the wrestlers going around selling to whoever and in advance, and that's how we had 60. So to get 300 plus, most of them all came through the door. That was not foreseen.
Right.
And we were just, I'll never forget the vibe in the locker room, Dave, when everybody kind of realized there was a huge crowd here. And everybody was talking, as you know how it is in the locker room. We're all bullshitting and everything. I'm just talking, Super D's are running around chasing each other. You hate some, they're chasing all those lightweights can't stand still. They got ants in their pants. But then, all of a sudden when we looked at the monitor and seen all the people, it was like, whew, it's just all the chatter came to a halt, and just
The
you
air
could just
out of the room.
yeah, you could just see everybody nervous as hell all of a sudden.
Trying to get the crowd going.
And
Oh, punches him
it was
in the
quite
face.
rewarding to see all these people, and they enjoyed the show.
Back up.
They
Okay.
really did. They got into the matches. You can see, you can watch them, you can hear them. It was great.
Bulldog. Oh,
Wayne's got a
Bulldog.
comment coming in here. I'll bring it in.
Tokyo Terror hurt. He's down on the mat.
Does Peter have a custom-made shirt on? Yes, he does. He did it. We did these shirts in graphic arts class, Wayne. Remember Mr. Manthe, graphic arts at Fred Moore? He had to do a screen printing shirt project, and that's how we did these shirts. That's how I did mine. That's where Peter did his.
Sends him to the mat,
And
kicks his
that's how
legs.
Mr. Manthe knew we were all about the NWF. So speaking of Mr. Manthe, Wayne, he's the camera operator right now.
Oh, and gets
He
it to
volunteered to
count.
do the camera for us at this show.
It's
Isn't that
Black
something?
Panther.
Mr. Manthe, yeah. If you remember him.
Headlock by Tokyo Terror.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's a little
punches
inside talk for people in
Black
Anoka
Panther
who would
down.
know. But
He-
yeah, and Wayne said, yep, he had the class.
Yep.
and
He had
what's
that
gonna do?
class.
Oh, what a move.
So that's where he made the
That
shirts.
hurts.
And anybody who ever made an NWF kind of shirt, they made it in that class. Peter, and not very artistic with his design, but I kind of like it. I kind of like the Tokyo Terror on the back. It looks kind of like, I don't know,
Now
kind of
he's
like the
lifting him
Japanese
up,
anime
going for the
flair
pin.
to it. Yeah.
Oh, gets a 2 count. And now they're near the ropes. And they break.
The only thing with Steve's ninja suit is falling apart on him as he's wrestling here. It's all coming undone.
I've seen him. I've seen it come open once or twice.
They lock up,
Yeah. And
and
it's funny, when this match started, we didn't have a ref in there, and so somebody said we don't need a ref, and I remember saying, Chad, get the shirt on, go out there, we need a ref, because Chad Rancor, the ref, he was wrestling as Mr. X2 in a mask, so nobody'd know who he is. So yeah, get out there and ref since you're not wrestling till way later. And so yeah, so he refed for first few matches, and I like how see all that crowd right there in the very front of the camera here on that side of the ring. That's all the special needs people from Coon Rapids, that facility that we'd give free tickets to. So that little first couple rows there. And when the referee said 2 count, he goes to the camera, 2 count. Letting the hand know. I thought that was kind of funny. Yeah.
Yeah, but if you watch the crowd real close, you might be able to spot.
Dixie Dave, I'll show you where you are. Dave is, as we look here, Dave is to the left. He's in that left section in the front row. So as the camera pans to the left, when it does pan to the left, that's where Dave will be. We'll see if we can see him.
I believe I'm sitting like right on the corner.
Yeah, right towards the corner of the camera. And
they're tangled up. 1 minute left in this match, by the way.
Timekeeper says 1 minute left. Jason letting them know there's 1 minute left.
And now
Jason Klassen was a great ring announcer. Perfect MC for the league.
this is a very good match.
He had that voice.
Come on here.
What's that?
I just wish we could get him on here.
Yeah, he'd love to come on too. It's just we never can seem to make it work. One of these days we'll get him on. He's very he has very fond memories of what we did here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You know, to be honest, I think there's only a handful of people that.
Oh, 2 count by Black Panther.
Yeah, there's a couple sour grapes out there. They're gonna have them.
Oh, claps his ears.
That's not gonna be a perfect world.
That gets a
You know,
good
and-
line.
You know, there's a couple people that we'd love to have on that won't come on, but it's not because they don't have fond memories. It's just.
Their life went in a different direction.
Yep.
Yeah, that's just they're not interested in really rehashing the past much. Some people are just so busy with their lives that's how it is. No, nothing wrong with that though. You know.
You know, I mean, last week it was a miracle that you got Kelsey and Ace on.
And Kelsey and Ace both have fun. You know, they would do it if they can, is the thing with them.
Right.
But what we're talking about is, like, there's a couple, I know there's one person, I know you know who it is, that just would rather not, right?
Well, I can think of 2 right off the top of my head.
Right. Well, yeah, me too. Yeah, Jason just had that golden voice for this. I really liked his announcing. King Coop. Haven't seen King Coop forever. Got to bring the comment in.
Good to have you back, Coop.
Super long time, guys. It's been way too long, Coop. Way too long. Been busy with work and life in general, but I had to come by and check the stream out. Hope you all been well. Yeah, we've been great. I'm really getting excited. I'm getting ready to go out to Ireland for the title match for NWF champions. Going to be crowned once again with the Canary Kid and Ben Nelson. Not sure who's going to get it, but I'm looking forward to coming out for that and being able to referee that one. It's going to be exciting stuff. Northern Ireland. So, a new champion in the NWF, King Coop. What do you say about that? What do you say about that, Coop? Curious what you think. I'm sure you've seen the promo video and stuff we've been putting on the YouTube. I don't think I ever got King Coop's opinion on that, having the belt go up on the line again. King Coop says, oh, nice. Going to Ireland. That's definitely going to be interesting. I think a new NWF would be great. Well, it's not that it's going to be a new league, but it's the championship is coming back into circulation again. It's going to be for the new era of wrestling, the new young up-and-comers like Canary Kid and Ben Nelson. They're going to fight out, and one of them is going to become the new NWF champ, and they're going to take it around wherever they can, wherever they go, whoever wins it. Looking forward to it. It's a new chapter in the NWF. That's for damn sure, Coop.
Yep.
And I get to referee. I get to referee this thing. That's what I'm excited about. So at least I hope so, because if Canary Kid sweeps Ben Nelson and then the next show they have, then I got to get in the ring with Canary Kid, and I'm not going to be happy. And I hate to cripple this bird, but I'll do it. So I hope it doesn't go that route. I want to see the new young guys fighting it out, Dave. I just want to ref if I can. That's why I'm not going to be in a good mood. I have to get in that damn ring again.
Oh, you know, if you have to get in that ring, your ego is going to inflate.
Well, I am Crusher Crossen. That goes without saying. I get that, but yeah. King says a new champion would be interesting. I think so too. It'd be great. And then he says, and I got excited, so kind of typing too fast. How do you feel about refereeing about it, besides the excitement? I'm really looking forward to refereeing, you know, and I'm gonna do this old school rules, Coop. I'm gonna come in there. We're gonna do a traditional startup. So I'm gonna, you know, like they still do in boxing to this day. I'm gonna have them come to the center of the ring. I'm gonna go over the rules. I'm gonna go over the match details and everything, and then have them shake hands, go to their corners. It's gonna be very, you know, this is we're calling it the 40th anniversary championship match. So we're gonna kind of do it old school style as far as that goes. I think I may even go pat them down like they used to do. Remember how the refs would check them, Dave?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I think that might even be a good touch. But anyways, I'm definitely going to do a traditional start. And
you know, this way you can make sure that Ricky or Ben's not bringing any foreign objects into that.
Yeah, and it's going to be a one fall 60-minute time limit, just like the old days. And the great thing about this, the promoter Nathan Hoy over there, he loves this stuff too. He loves that kind of stuff. So he's all for me doing it this way, you know, traditional start and everything. So it's great to work with the promotion like Northern Ireland Professional Wrestling, who's, you know, kind of has the same vision that I do as far as doing a throwback like that. You know, I think that's great. It's gonna be fun. Looking forward to it. King wants to know, is Dixie Dave going out for this one?
No, sadly, you know, life has got me going in another direction, so, you know, I should go over just to make sure Crusher's not being too biased, but...
Yeah. Well, I've been talking to Coop so long, I see we got a new match going on. It's the Super D's, everybody. Todd and Troy Dazowski. They're twins, and they were damn good, Dave. Damn good.
Oh, yeah.
They're like 10 years old here, and they're doing drop kicks, double drop kicks, flying clotheslines. They did it all. And, they were damn good. Now, you might ask about this ring. This is a ring. We had to build this ring for the Armory card. We didn't have a actual professional wrestling ring yet, Dave.
Right.
So it's a 16 by 16 ring, 2 feet off the ground, and it was an expense. So we not only had to come up with the money for the Armory, we had to build this ring as well to do the Armory, all in 3 months' time. You know, and ABC Newspapers was here, local Anoka County paper, covering this event, and they did a big, huge double spread in the sports section on this right after the show. And as luck would have it, Dave, that article got read by a group out in Hutchinson, Minnesota, who had a professional wrestling ring that was 20 by 20, a real ring, and they weren't using it anymore. They seen our story, they thought it was a great thing, and they gave us a hell of a deal. $300 cash for that ring and a few car parts from Steve. And the rest is history.
Yep.
Wow, that was a hell of a score. And I'll tell you, part of the reason they gave it to us so cheap was because they really thought what we were doing was such a unique thing, and they wanted to give us something. They weren't using it anymore, and they wanted to give it to us, basically. I think they would have gave it to us for free, but I think I insisted that we pay something.
Right.
So, and we had some money left over from this event, so I thought let's. And then when we got that ring, Dave, it was a totally different experience.
Oh, I loved wrestling in that actual ring.
I mean, it had actual give on the mat. Like, it wasn't a hard platform like this was. So
Right.
you could take bumps. I mean, oh man, that was just, I can't tell you enough. King Coop says, Dixie Dave, I understand how that is. What is that term the young kids be using? Life be lifing? Is that what they say? Life be
I
lifing?
guess.
Life got us going in different directions at times, he says. And then Coop says that was a interesting ring. I'm just now noticing that. Didn't WCW also use a 16 by 16 ring, or was it 18 by 18 they used? I think they used all different sizes, honestly. But I know they had 16 by 16s for sure, and I know they had some 18 by 18s. It depended where they were, you know.
Right.
Where, you know, what ring they were using, you know, they had set up in that certain areas. But like most of the stuff you've seen on like World Championship Wrestling in the 80s was a 16 by 16 that you'd see on TV a lot.
Right.
That was their studio ring too. Cableized ropes. Yeah.
Yep. And to give you an idea what a good deal it was, I looked up not too long ago on a website, and a ring nowadays is going to run anywhere from about $7,500 to about $11,000.
Very true. And Dave, this event here, having it be a success, we didn't know what was going to happen here. All I know is if we had 60 advance tickets sold and if all we got were 60 people, we'd be in trouble.
Right.
And I don't think we'd be doing any more live events.
But you know, the thing that we fail to bring up about this, and I'm going to let my ego go for a minute, is this show not only brought you the greatness that is Dixie Dave, but it also brought us Mr. Nice Guys. It brought us Rock and Roll Express.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, the Rock and Roll Express are in attendance at this event too, watching to the left side. Sometimes you'll see them on camera even. Chris Barger and Mike Bauer, they were there. They were so impressed with what they saw that they wanted to be a part of it. Now, they were a little older than me. They were like 17, 18. I was 16. And so, yeah, the Super D's lose the titles. This is just a travesty of justice. Listen to the crowd boo. Finally, they're booing the right people. They didn't know to boo. I think what it was, Dave, they didn't know if they should boo us kids.
Right.
And then of course we wanted them to boo us if we were heels, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So this match set the tone from the night on. From this point on, the bad guys were booed properly. They can't even hear Jason announcing it. The crowd got so loud with that. They were not happy with the Iranian Shiek and Tough Tony winning that from the Super D's. Super D's were super popular. They got the biggest pop of the night. What's that?
They were over like Rover.
Yeah, when they came out, they got the biggest pop of any of us. When they came out to the ring. I wish I would have caught that, but I was so excited to see King Coop that I missed it. But King Coop says, that's cool. Seems like a lot of people was at the crowd for an event like that at that time. How many people were there? So it was over 300. I don't know exactly though, but I always say between 300 and 350. So it's somewhere in there. But I know it was over 300 for sure. Because based on the ticket numbers and stuff, we can tell what ticket numbers came in. So.
Right. You got Kid USA Kelsey.
Well, he's managing. Kelsey's a manager, remember? He was our second manager going to our Hall of Fame. But yeah, that's Kid Kelsey there in the white with the shades. He's managing the Eliminators, which was Rockin' Rodamom and Ice Dragon. Ice Dragon was still a baby face here. That would quickly change. Because Ice Dragon became one heck of a good heel.
Oh, yeah.
After this show. A little bit of a hot wire, but he was good. He was a good heel. The Ring Warriors were coming back. They had been around in '85. Chuck Roughhouse Roberts and Todd the Bod Chester, and they were the Ring Warriors, and they came back for this show. I think they just wanted to be on a big Armory card with us.
Yep, because after this show, I don't remember them being.
Yeah. They never did it. They never, they were getting busy. Chuck was getting busy in other sports and stuff. I think they both played football. They were rough, tough kids, these two. Make no mistake about that.
Well,
Chuck Roberts, probably one of the toughest of us.
match in store for
you know, in that era.
First will be Rockin' Ronabomb against Todd the
That
Bomb.
other
I'm trying
guy.
to remember,
What's
was
that?
CJ on commentary today?
Yeah, he's commentating. CJ's my stepbrother, and he never could make anything other than these big events because he was way down in Richfield. But he wanted to be a part of it so bad. So I'd
Yeah.
always have him do the play-by-play.
Rough post, Robert
Yeah,
picks
because
him
he
up.
just wanted to be a part of it.
They lock up.
He was too small to be really a wrestler. Well, he could have probably done the wrestling, but he was. CJ wasn't
Rockin' Ronabomb.
athletic enough for the show, and he knew it. So
Right.
to be an announcer like this is just perfect for him. You know, there were kids like that. Like Wayne even said, "No, I just don't think I could do it." Well, that's CJ. He's the same way.
Todd the
You
Pride
know.
weighs him off. And now they do a Chester.
There's always a spot. Here's the thing, guys, with professional wrestling. You may not be athletic enough to do the wrestling. There's always something, though, for you to do in the business.
Right.
Whether it's announcing, whether it's reffing, whether it's doing the production side of it, whether it's, you know, there's just always things you can do, you know? You don't have to necessarily be in the ring wrestling. King Coop says, well, at least CJ got to be an announcer and be a part of it. Yeah, and that's all he wanted. And he, not just this event, he'd come to a bunch of our, was at most all our live events, except the last one. And Wayne says, I found my spot. Yeah, and Wayne, of course, his spot was being a photographer ringside. And very successful at that, actually, I might add. I wish he was a photographer in these days, because I certainly would have hired him somehow if I could have. I really wished I would have had a photographer, Dave, taking pictures. Could have used that. Be great to have. You know, the one thing I didn't do at these shows that I really wish I would have was interviews. You know how, like, have another camera just doing interviews in the locker room, like after matches, after matches, whatever. I wish we would have done that. We never did that at any Armory show. Mainly because there's just so much going on, and it's like the last thing I had to deal with, you know?
Yeah, I mean, these shows were a lot of work for you.
Yeah. Think about it. You get to the Armory, and there's nothing. It's a big empty square concrete area. So we have to set the ring up. We have to get the lighting unit erected up. We have to put all the folding chairs around the ring. We have to, you know, get the camera ready and set up. Get it closed-circuited to the dressing room so we can see what's going on. A lot of work. Get the ticket counter set up so they can sell tickets at the door. And it was just a lot of work, I can tell you that. And so I had enough to deal with, and then I just didn't have time to deal with coordinating interviews getting done. I wish I would have done that. Would have been cool to have behind-the-scenes video going, too, just to show what was going on live in the locker room.
But hindsight being 2020, Crusher.
Yeah.
You know, this was the era of kayfabe. Cameras did not belong in the locker room.
No, you never thought of that either. Like, we didn't think that we should be documenting what we're doing because it would be kind of significant years later. We never thought that way at this point in time. That's why we never thought of the idea to do it. You know?
You know, for us, we were happy with our cable TV show, and
yeah, we were happy, and we are just thrilled to be in front of people. So, like, we didn't really think about trying to document it in the back, you know, on some kind of a documentary kind of thing. King Coop says, I think I might have asked you this before, Crossen, but have you ever thought about restarting the NWF? I mean, have a new group of kids in there and all? Yeah, I've thought of it, and I've had people tell me I should do it. It's just, if I was a little bit younger, I might think of doing it. I just don't know if I have the energy to do it anymore at this age, though. I mean, working with kids takes a lot of work.
And to be honest, he'd have to be like an Ed Sharkey and just sitting outside by the ring explaining how to do everything.
Well, I can still take some bumps, but, you know, it's not as easy. And I certainly couldn't, you know, yeah, it's just, if I was younger.
You wouldn't want to have to worry about breaking a hip every time you got in the ring.
Are you saying Canary Kid would beat me up if we have that match? Like he thinks he would?
You know, I'm just Worried about you falling wrong and breaking your hip, Crusher.
Trying to get him up for a pile driver. Can't get him. No, he does. Oh, but somewhat of a reversal. It's
I don't know. I don't know, Dave. My adrenaline alone would make me beat him.
In the take.
Nah,
Like you said, Dave, I think you know, Dave said it best, I guess. You're just jealous of the Canary Kid because the belt's going back into circulation. Well, I should say the Canary Kid and Ben Nelson because the belt's going back into circulation and you can't compete for it anymore. You're too old. Oh, yeah. But you know what? I'm glad for those two. I'm really excited to see how that match is going to turn out. It's going to be a fun one. It would be interesting to see what a modern day NWF would be like. Yeah, it would. It'd be cool. It'd be difficult. I mean, there'd be insurance issues and stuff. I don't know how they're doing it over there and all these other places, like when they do their kids' classes. But they are, you know. I would think insurance and liability would be an issue, though. But they're making it work. And King Coop says, "True, that would make sense. It wouldn't be as easy nowadays. Not for me. Not at my age. I'm just getting a bit too old. But to see the Canary Kid and Ben Nelson carry the torch and do a championship match and take the NWF belt into the next era of wrestling. Remember, the NWF Championship was kind of the first ever, kind of like junior championship of wrestling.
Right.
It was the first title. So at the time, we were cutting edge. You know, as far as you didn't see any kids our age doing this and having being a champion of it. So that belt has significance in that respect. So now to take it and hand it off to the next new era that's also cutting edge, like we were, only in a new era of it.
Right.
This only makes perfect sense to let them take that belt and run with it. And let's see where they go with it. Be fun.
You know, what I'd like to think, in a way, is us doing what we did back in the day made it possible for all these junior companies that are out there now to exist.
Well, Joe Bird, my good friend in Pure Pro, said he heard of us. He was aware of like what we did back in the day. He remembered hearing of us.
Yep.
And and I don't know if we gave him the idea, but he certainly knew when I reached out to him. He was familiar with us.
Whoa, guys.
So,
Ladies and gentlemen.
And I mean, Joe's put us in contact with a few great people.
Oh yeah.
I'll be in fine ones.
And I like showcasing his guys, and I will continue to do that on Forward. That's what Forward's all about. So Ricky and I really enjoy bringing, guests on Forward. It's fun.
You've made friends with a lot of good promoters that, now that the NWF World Heavyweight title is back in circulation,
and then our last match,
who knows where it's going to go. I mean, it's going to start out in Ireland. It could end up, with Joe Bird's company. It could end up with Hernandez's company.
Well, I'll tell you something. Like, let's just do some hypotheticals. If Ben Nelson wins, he's got plans to go to Asia. The NWF belt could make its appearance there. If Ricky wins, Canary Kid, he is going to be in Canada, and England, and Portugal, and so is Ben. Ben will be in Portugal, and I imagine England as well. So that belt's going to make some traction, and they're going to represent it for us, whoever wins. So I'm really looking forward to it. When I say represent us, represent the heritage of that belt, represent what it stands for.
Represent the heritage of the National Wrestling Federation.
Right, but what did the NWF mean back then and in this day and age? It meant something unique.
Yeah.
And these guys at 17 years old are pretty unique doing professional wrestling, don't you think? So, and it don't. And here's the thing with the NWF belt, though, Dave. You don't have to be a young teenager either. Mr. X was 26, and he held the belt.
Right.
You just have to be part of that new era. Go ahead.
The NWF World Heavyweight Championship will now be a world championship.
Right. True world championship.
Right.
For the first time, literally being fought for across the ocean. That's kind of cool stuff if you think about it. And yeah. So let's see. King Coop says, I have so much of NWF to catch up on after this. Seems like I've missed quite a bit. It's exciting to see this chapter of NWF rings, the NWF World Title getting a second life. Yeah, that's kind of what it's all about. You know, King Coop, if you really want to get like a quick recap of all this stuff, you got to follow us on Instagram. I constantly put up short little 1-minute reels just about every day from the podcasts with all the kind of the highlights, if you will. And you'll really be able to follow us pretty easily. Wayne, you've seen my reels. Do you think they're pretty good? Do you think it does a good job kind of showcasing what the hell we're doing on these shows? That's what I try to do with that, by the way. I just try to give little snippets, you know, on Instagram. And I know Wayne sees them because he's on it. He's one of my friends on Instagram, so he'd be a good honest review of it. Can always rely on Wayne to tell it like it is. He ain't gonna sugarcoat shit. It's like me. Tells it like it is. He says he's got a comment. He's got an answer for me here. He says I like watching the reels. So yeah, he does enjoy them. Yeah, they're just quick little snippets. You know, like little kind of summaries. They're all I use Opus clips, so they're kind of nice. Come out kind of nice. Yeah, on our Instagram, of course, you'll see. You know, it's under my name when I'm on the screen when the show's done. You'll have links at the Instagram channel in underneath me when it's just me and Dave on screen.
What could this be?
But yeah.
What development could this be?
And like Wayne says, they're nice and short. So it's like, yeah, you don't have to get into a whole big podcast. You just get nice little snippets of the highlights of what we talked about. The good I try to take the good, interesting stuff basically and kind of throw it out there. And I do that with Dave too. We do it with Rewind too. I take whatever we're talking about that's of interest and I try to put it in there. And you know, it's funny. I stopped doing shorts for a while, and Ricky, the Canary Kid, he goes, you really need to start doing shorts again. He goes, my generation likes shorts. He's always, my generation. They like shorts. We like shorts. So it's Ricky that kind of pushed me into doing it again. And then he says, I'd have to check the reels out on Instagram. Absolutely. And they're all in there. So you can, like, if you miss... You know, they come in like twice a day, but you can catch up on all of them. They're all in there still. So nice little snippets.
Takes out his partner, Slick Steenerson. Trying to get him up for a suplex, and he does.
And now we have the National Tag Team title match.
One.
I like Wayne's comment on that. They have no attention span. Right. It's hard for somebody like Ricky to sit down and watch this whole show.
Right.
But he'll watch all the shorts I put out on this when we're done. He'll watch all those. It's just that era. It's that young generation. They're not Generation X. Generation X would kick their asses, Dave. and they know it. I always give, before we go on air, I always privately tell Ricky, I always give him a hard time because I'm Generation X.
It's a clothesline.
And that we were the tough generation.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no attention span. And then King Coop says, that's true. This generation is so internet heavy and used to the short videos. Yeah, for sure. And then Wayne's just agreeing, or Coop agreeing with Wayne.
Interesting development here.
But I don't mind doing the shorts. I use Opus Clip to do it, so it kind of generates them for me. But I really got to do a lot of editing sometimes to get, because the Opus Clip won't find the good stuff. I have to go fish that out and then change it all around, and it's a little bit of back end work. But at least it puts all the closed captioning on for me, so it makes it really. it's eye candy. It makes it easy to watch because you have all the words coming up and whatever we're saying. It's like how you see shorts do. So it's very neat, very easy to follow. We had a great show, you guys. Last week, Ace and Kid Kelsey came back on with us and to talk to the young kids. Talk to Ben and Ricky, and it was great. You know what my favorite line is, and you'll see the short coming up, I think, tomorrow. When Ace was trying to give Ricky some constructive criticism, and then Ricky went into his full blown heel mode, and he's like, just got right back on Ace, and then he ends it by saying, "And you call yourself Ace?" He says it kind of funny with his accent, Ace. He goes, "You want to know something? I'm going to be an ace when I win this championship. I'm going to be the new ace of this title when I get this title." And Ace was like, "Oh," and he's just like laughing as he's hearing it. It was great. It was great. I'll tell you something. Those two kids, Ben and Ricky, they are talented. Not only at wrestling, but they have the gift of gab as well. Ben's pretty good too. His connection just was horrible that show, so he didn't get to hear from him too much. But
now we got one of my favorites in the ring, Slick Steenerson.
Yeah, Slick Steenerson. Notice he came out dressed as a woman. He wanted to do that because Adrian Adonis had just done that gimmick in the WWF at the time. So Troy was really influenced by that. Oh, that was a rough pile driver there. Yeah, Slickster. He was a heavy kid. Chad could hardly even pick him up.
Yeah, Chad Body Slam, probably the two biggest.
God, you know what we missed in this match? I was so busy chit-chatting. Terry blocked in a leg drop off the second rope. Did you guys see that? Now, you got to remember, at that time, in 1986, there wasn't a lot of people doing that kind of stuff. You know, you didn't see leg drops off the second rope. That was pretty innovative, really, for Terry to do that. Terry was innovative like that. He really was.
Right.
And Coop says that match was pretty decent. Yeah, it was, you know, Steenerson was good. Terry Block was certainly good. Yeah, the leg drop off the second rope, I remember that, and that was pretty cool looking. Yeah. And Terry, he was cutting edge. He really was. Or I think our microphone system wasn't working, so Jason's having to shout.
I forgot what the reason was that we did the change there.
What's that?
I thought that there was a story or something behind the title change there. Or was it just time to change titles over to a new
World title champions, tag team,
the
Barbarians.
What do you mean?
Let's go up to the ring.
Well, you know, like when the Barbarians dropped the tag titles. There was
why did we give the Invaders the titles? It was just their time. You know, Terry and Chad worked hard. It was their time to get belts. And Steenerson had him all the way through Fred Moore years, pretty much, and him and Irick in this originally. And so it was time. It was time for a change. So yeah, I think we're gonna end with this match on part one. This is a good match too. Mr. X and Mr. X2 against the Barbarians. Good match. It was a good one. It's a good one to end on.
Yep.
You know, Steve was really good, of course. When you're in there with him, he makes you look like $1 million, with the exception of Dave.
Yep.
But you know, I never had a bad match with him. Yeah, I mean, Chad, first of all, both of these guys were good hands in the ring. Chad was good, Mr. X was good, and the Barbarians were equally good. So this is a really good match. This is a good one, actually, for this time period.
Yep, the Barbarians were one of those tag teams where if you didn't sell for them, they'd make you sell.
Yeah, they were a Road Warriors style team.
Yeah.
And you know, they weren't big as like the Warriors, but for us kids, they were big like the Road Warriors.
Oh yeah.
And
right at the beginning.
Just big, strong kids.
And behind the scenes, if you knew them on a personal level, both Tim and Jerry were great guys.
And who will start first?
Yeah.
For the
As long as you weren't on their bad side.
It will be.
Now let's see if they're wearing socks still or if they got their shoes on. I'm curious. Looks like they're wearing shoes. So yeah, no socks. Although it looks like Chad might be in his socks.
As you know, of the Barbarians, the tag team champion.
Chad is Mr. X2. Chad Rancor.
Oh, look at this! Disturbs the referee. He got him up. He's got him.
But you know, these were our common moves. You know, body slams like that.
Down he goes.
You know, a shoulder tackle before it was known as a spear.
Yep.
Mr.
Elbow
X2
drops
picking him
like
up.
he just missed it, but another body slam. This was very typical old school style. And
And the high body slams, you know, where you pick them up and hold them for a minute.
yep,
Oh, and he
like he
takes
did
off.
there.
Mr. X.
And you know, Thandar was good. Jerry was good. I mean,
Mr. X.
Jerry was much softer to work with in the ring. Like he wasn't as rough as Tim. He didn't have the edge that Tim had, but he still looked. He could still look really good.
Another kick.
Jerry.
Right.
He's got him.
Jerry's the one in the ring right now. Conan.
No way. He
Yeah,
jumped
Conan
in
had the
and
ability to
it
act
was
like he was
clothesline.
just
Oh,
annihilating you, but
what a
Look at that
clothesline
clothesline
is.
Steve just took.
How far are these men
Man,
being
did he abuse
very
his body
big
for
men?
us.
Oh, throws him into the
and you know,
turnbuckle.
the
Oh,
thing about
that had to hurt.
Conan,
He's got Mr. X.
it looked like he murdered Steve with that clothesline.
It sure did.
And right into the knee.
But I bet you Jerry probably hardly
And
even
they
touched
take
him.
off.
Yeah, you never. I've wrestled both of these guys, Thandar and Conan, and I can tell you firsthand,
Throws
at
him
least
off
for
the
me,
ropes.
Jerry was light as a feather in there.
They barely missed. Oh, and he headbutts him. Ooh, he is
But
mad.
Steve, yeah,
Headbutts him.
he was excited just like the rest of us, so he certainly bumped hard. I know he slipped his disc in this match.
Charges
Yep.
His
over.
back.
Referee stopping.
That happened.
Oh, headbutt to the stomach area.
It was very funny when we were
Big
doing the
breath,
July card. He had slipped his
Oh,
disc in this
reverse
match.
body slam.
You know, we got a back ache from it and everything, of course. And then when we did the July card, me and Steve did that Broadway, right? That 60-minute time limit.
Oh, knee to
Yep.
the back.
And we gave him everything, and Steve took everything, man. He
Mr.
took
X
back
doesn't-
body drop. He just did everything
Keep
like
him
just
under
like he
trouble.
did in this show.
He grabs his foot.
And when we were tearing down, I remember Steve yells at me and he goes,
And Mr. X.
"Hey, Sean." I go, "What?" He goes, "Guess what?" And I said, "What?" And he goes, "Remember at the last Armory card when I slipped my disc?" I said, "Yeah." And he goes,
Some of the own men.
"I'm pretty sure I did it again." And I'm pretty sure he did. Yeah, Steve abused his body a lot in this stuff with us. He really did.
Oh, we all.
He's got Mr. X.
Well, we all did. You're right.
Body slam. Oh.
But Steve,
Oh.
like Steve took massive bumps. You know,
Right.
That back can only take so much.
at his age too. Remember, as kids, we're more
Before
resilient.
it finally
Right.
gives. Off the
You know,
rope.
he's 26 here.
Oh, shot.
That flying shoulder there is the Jerry. Excellent. One of the best at the flying shoulder in our show, for damn sure.
Takes off.
Yeah.
These barbarians standing up to their name.
Little communication there, Thandar. I seen it. Yeah, Ricky'd be all over us on that one. Ricky loves catching me talking like that.
Mr. X in deep trouble.
We were watching one of my PWA matches, and he seen me doing it. He goes, "Little communication there, Crusher."
He can't take off. He's got him up.
Get here, you kid. He likes needling me just like I like needling him.
Oh, yeah.
Double team
But
there. They're choking him. They are choking him.
it was a good match.
You know,
No, it's-
hindsight being 2020, there's things I could nitpick about this match, but
Oh yeah, it's not perfect, but it's certainly a good one. It's a good
Well,
one
no,
considering most of the matches on the show. It's better than most of the matches. Let's just say that.
well, no, like one thought that I just had is when
Sternum area.
Thandar was distracting so Conan could choke him,
Yeah.
Grabs him up. Throws him
Tim
off the
needed to
ropes.
turn the referee. His back was
Takes Mr.
Jared.
X too.
Right. Well, here's a question for King Coop has. Who were some of the stiffest people to work with in the ring?
Referee did not count it.
As far as stiff, well, for me, Thandar was stiff.
Oh,
I have to say.
oh,
Dave
stomach
claims he was easy, but But I wasn't the only one that said Thandar was stiff. That came from a lot of people.
Right.
Brian Peterson was stiff in the early days. Mr. Macho in the beginning was stiff. I didn't know the terminology. We didn't know stiff as a terminology back then, so we never called it that. We just called it rough. But with Macho, I always called him rubbery. He felt rubbery. So it wasn't that he was stiff. He just wasn't smooth. It didn't flow. He was real herky-jerky rubber. Kind of felt like rubber legs. And but Macho got much better after the first 2 or 3 months. Then he smoothed out. He was pretty good. Much easier to work with. The smoothest people I had to work with, for sure, Steve, Mr. X for me.
Yeah.
Pretty Boy Taylor. Slick Steenerson was smooth as silk.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he was a big guy, but he knew how to make himself light as a feather.
Yeah. Yeah, but he was fun to work with, too.
Yeah.
And who else was smooth? Very easy to work with. Well, I think, Conan was very easy to work with, my opinion. Tokyo Terror was easy to work with. It would sell really well for you, actually, if you gave him something to sell for. It was really hard with the Black Panther match, because Black Panther didn't give Tokyo anything. But if you give Tokyo things to work with, he'll sell his ass off for you.
Yeah.
You just have to give him something.
What's Mr. X2 doing? He's leaving the ring. I don't believe this. Crisscross, Mr. X2 leaving the ring. I don't know. Ladies and
Mr. X2 leaving Mr. X by himself.
on a knee to Mr. X. Mr. X
This finish gets all messed up here, too, by the way. It was a decent match, but the finish did not go the way it was supposed to.
Oh, hamstring pull. That could be. He could have pulled his hamstring on that move. And he throws him over the second rope. Oh, Mr. X out on the ring.
Look at how Jason's reaction is. See, Jason is selling just like the rest of us as an announcer. Do you notice that?
Yeah.
He's like, oh, when Steve got thrown, he's like, holy cow. He's like, all the people around him. I don't know what we were so lucky to have people that were just so naturally good at what they were doing, Dave.
Right.
Like, who would? I didn't tell Jason to act like that around the crowd.
Gentlemen, I don't know what's happening here.
We were just fortunate.
He was just as much of a fan as the rest of us.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. This could be a suplex, but he stops it and brings him over. Could have a small package. Oh, and only gets a 2 count.
I'll tell you something. I really envy Canary Kid and Ben Nelson. I wish I could go back to their age because they are where we were at, Dave.
Well, Mr.
Right.
X,
Only they're in a lot better situation as far as being able to do this right.
and he's not coming back in.
Correct.
Oh,
And
knee drop.
I'd do anything to go back in time and do this again. Anything.
Mr. X, clothesline. Oh, gets a 2 count.
But yeah,
Oh.
I think we're getting close to the end of this one. So see, that wasn't supposed to happen.
A 3 count.
And you can tell that Tim didn't intend to pin him either. It just happened. It was a mistake. There's nobody's fault. Just a mistake.
Team champions.
Mr. X, Mr. X2 were supposed to take the belts. But it wasn't nothing that they did. It just wasn't supposed to happen. The ref screwed up and counted it. Sometimes that stuff happens. Just roll with it.
We didn't have
a big deal.
for the referees that they have nowadays.
No, and after this card, I ended up starting to use Rick Pitts for our reffing all the time. So we had an adult ref all the time going after this. So
Right.
Reffing got a little bit better. Coop says that finish did look a bit rough. Yeah, because it's not how it's supposed to go. So it was kind of a surprise. They weren't expecting that, and kind of screwed up the whole ending. But he said it was still a pretty good match. And then
Yeah.
let me just get this last one in, Dave. Wayne says Pregler does a good job at commentary. He does. Just sounds like a girl. People always said, who's the girl commentating? His voice was so high. But you know, it doesn't bother me. Never bothered me back then either.
Nope. No, what I was going to say is this just gives the Barbarians a longer reign to cement themselves.
What was that? The Barbarians what?
It just gives them a longer reign to cement themselves as credible champions.
Right. And like I said, nobody got yelled at. There was like, I didn't like, what the heck did you guys do? You know, like today an indie promoter would be pissed if something like this happened. Nah, it was just a mistake. We just move on.
Yep.
King's just reiterating the commentary was good. He did a good job. CJ, yeah, he showed up at the July card and commentating. He showed up at the, and by the way, King Coop, there's our Instagram link right there. So if you want to subscribe or follow us on Instagram, then you'll kind of see all the stuff as we put in there. I highly recommend to anybody to follow us on Instagram because I do a lot of posting there.
Right.
And it's just a great way.
Just kind of,
Facebook, yeah, it's just kind of, Facebook's kind of becoming a dying thing, Dave. It's Instagram's kind of taken over, and TikTok and stuff. I don't do TikTok, but I know a lot of people do, and Twitter. But it's Facebook kind of becoming a lost thing. I don't know. But yeah, like King Coop says, Facebook's becoming the MySpace. Remember MySpace? Yeah. It's there. We all have it. We have it there, but not a lot of things, not a lot of people, you know. It's kind of just you can do more with Instagram. The only thing I don't like about Instagram is I wish you could do more with linking things. Like I wish I could link to YouTube more readily. It's kind of hard. I got to make little stickers and put them on stories, and I can link that way. That's about it. I wish Instagram would allow us to link, though, properly on like Reels and stuff.
Right.
So we can say, this is where you watch the full thing, and then take them to YouTube. And the only reason I don't live stream on Instagram is they limit you to an hour. So that wouldn't work for us. So.
And I'm sorry, we run our mouths more than just an hour a night.
We usually do. And but yeah, that was the first half of Superstars Spectacular 86. Now, you know, everybody says, why did you guys call it Superstars Spectacular 86 when you guys weren't really famous? You weren't superstars. Because you got to remember, we were living the life and believing we were famous. We fell into our own story and felt that we're superstars. We're going to, and when you do an event like this, you always have some spectacular name like this. So these kind of names are what you called cards like this.
We were kids that dreamt big and we're living our dreams.
Right. So yeah, Superstar Spectacular 86, that's like, you know, like I'll give you examples. Super Clash 85, Wrestle Rock 86. You come up with these big names for big events. And that's what we did.
You know, for us, these shows were our premium live events, is what they're calling them now.
I'll tell you this much. I called the AWA to let them know we were doing this. And of course, I got in touch, you know, they put me in with Roy Nelson. That's who I always would get in touch with when I ever called them. And I said, yeah, just so you know, Roy, we're doing our first big live event at the Anoka Armory, and it's going to be May 9th, 1986. We're calling it Superstar Spectacular 86. And he chuckled. He kind of laughing. And I said, what, is there something wrong? And he goes, oh, no, that's just the kind of thing we'd come up with. So he was just, you know, kind of, you know, they seen it. The AWA seen us just like everybody else. This is kind of a unique thing here, you know.
These are a bunch of unique kids. We're not going to get in their way, but we're not going to promote them.
Right, because, you know, Vern could never bring us on TV and say anything. You know, we go against everything he says kids not to try to do this at home. But at the same time, he had to be kind of admire us a bit of what we were doing, you know.
Because, I mean, we were doing exactly the same thing he was doing, just on a smaller scale.
On a smaller scale and with no training, as Wayne would say.
Right.
But only doing it as best we could. So, you know, the quality wasn't quite the same. And we know this. We're not trying to pretend. But I will say this. You guys got to remember, all you perfectionists out there who look at professional wrestling with a fine-tooth comb today, that wasn't looked at like that in the 80s.
Right.
Nobody critiqued you like that in the 80s. It was a different era. That's all I can say. It wasn't perfection with a capital P. So, and it wasn't all about having perfect spots. That's all in the new era of
There wasn't
wrestling.
a lot of the high spots that you have now.
Right. It was just a basic match. And now, obviously, there were guys that were really good in the 80s, but not everybody was. I'm thinking like Flair, Steamboat,
Oh, those were
Bockwinkel.
any time.
Yeah, Nick Bockwinkel. All these guys were just technicians, but and really knew their craft. But not everybody in old school was good. They had some guys that were just big brawlers that could never do a flying head scissors. And see the thing today, Dave, wrestling today, most wrestlers, they all can do it. They all can do everything.
Right.
But back, that's kind of what I miss about old school. Old school, it was a smorgasbord of styles. And you had some high flyers, you had some big brawlers, you had just a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And you'd have yes, and you get these nice, cool matchups of style versus style. And now, today, and I'm not trying to knock these guys today, but it's the same stuff fighting all the time.
Right.
Same style. That's how, but that's how wrestling's evolved. You can't knock them for it.
I mean, back in our day, fans would love a match like Kerry Bam Bam Gordy versus Bruiser Brody.
Yeah. I'd pay to see that.
But then on the same card, you might see Ric Flair versus Ricky the Dragon Steamboat.
Yeah, and everybody'd pay to see that.
Oh.
And King Coop says, that was pretty good show, and that was part 1. Yep, and part 2 will be the next time Dave and I are on in 2 weeks. We're going to do the second half of that show. And so that's the plan. And then as we were talking about old school, Dave, Coop says, old school wrestling was great. Nowadays, everyone's a high flyer. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. Everyone's got the same style pretty much. And I think wrestling would become a lot more interesting if they would just go full circle and maybe come back to the past and start coming up with different styles again.
Right.
Make it interesting.
Well,
Change it up.
I'm not quite sure what to make of it, but WWE announced that they've purchased one of the Mexican.
Yeah, I seen that. Mm-hmm.
So you're going to see a lot more lucha libre in WWE,
right,
in the near future.
It's true. And Coop says, but the young guys now, they still do pretty amazing things. Yes, they do. And Canary Kid and Ben Nelson, on our best day, we pale in comparison to these guys.
Yep.
And we all know it. So that's why I'm pretty excited that they're going to take the NWF belt into the new era of wrestling and see where they go with it. It's going to be pretty interesting stuff. And I'm just thrilled to be a part of it in some small way by going over there and guest reffing and,
bringing your blue baby back,
bringing the blue baby back into circulation and it's being in front of a crowd again, being in the ring, even as a referee. I'm looking forward to it,
I'm going to give you some props here. And, I know Canary is going to see this. I know Ben's going to see this. But, they should feel honored when they have their match because they are going to be in the ring with the Hall of Famer Crusher Crossen.
Yeah. And hopefully Canary's on his best behavior and I don't have to disqualify him. And we'll see. Him and that Irish temper, I'll tell you.
Well, here's the problem. You got two guys in there with the Irish temper going on.
Well, Ben's a little more cool, calm, and collective. But Canary's got that hot fuse, so we'll just have to see. We'll just have to see how it goes.
You never know. After Canary went after Ben's leg, and I understand. I'm not knocking him for it. You do what you got to do to win a match.
Yeah.
But,
Dirty pool.
Well, it's like our governor says, win if you can, lose if you must, always cheat and never get caught.
Yeah, and is that the Canary Kid we want to see?
When it comes to
For the
titles,
NWF Championship?
when it comes to titles, you want that glory, you got to do whatever you got to do.
Well, there's the right way and the wrong way. And, I think of Crusher Crossen. And speaking of the Ace and Kid Kelsey, we talked about Kelsey on there. We brought up the drop kick. Dave, he still claims his jaw did get dislocated. He swears by it. I don't know what to make of that because I don't remember it happening.
Kelsey, this is directed straight at you because I know you watch these things. I know you got a busy life, but I know you watch Rewind and all that. If your jaw was dislocated, show us the x-rays. Show us your mouth being wired shut.
Well, what he claims is it popped out and popped back in right away. I don't know if jaws do that, though, like that easy. Either they pop out or then they have to be popped.
Unless you sport reptile, your jaw doesn't just pop out and pop back in.
I think, Dave, here's my opinion. This is a great talking story to tell around the campfire.
Oh, yeah.
But
and Kelsey loves to talk.
Because it did look pretty devastating. And I'm not saying it didn't hurt. I caught him in the mouth and the chin, and we made some contact. So it probably felt it a little bit. I don't know. I watch it in slow motion and I just say, I don't know if that's enough to dislocate a jaw.
Unless he's got a real weak jaw,
Yeah. But then again, Kelsey, I want to make this clear. I'm not calling Kelsey a liar. I'm just saying, I don't know if I believe him. That's all.
Kelsey likes to talk. Kelsey likes to sell.
Yes, he does. And like I said, like I told my friends over there, he could sell beach property in Kansas. He is the art of the sale. Kelsey was. He always was. Always been that way. So.
He could sell snow to Eskimos in the middle of a blizzard.
But Kelsey knows how I feel about it. He knows that I question it, and he knows it. We're all entitled to our opinion, but he swears by it. He swears by it.
You want me to believe you, Kelsey? Show me the x-rays. Show me the...
Yeah. I mean, it's not that I haven't hurt somebody in this thing. I pile drive Tokyo Tear and damn near it could have been bad.
Well, you ended Tokyo's career.
Well, yeah. I mean, he could have probably done it. His dad was like, this was too close of a call. You're done. So, and I think I did the most damage to myself. I power slammed Steve at Brooklyn Park and broke my finger,
Yep.
and that hurt. I had to continue the match, which was hard, with a broken finger in 3 spots, but I did it. That's the thing, Dave. When we were young and at our age and stuff, we'd go through hell and back to keep a match going. We're not going to stop it just because of something like a finger break.
Bringing Coop's last comment there.
Well, he did bring one in about the WAA, but I'm going to skip that one for now because we kind of went over that already. But AAA thing. But calling Kelsey a liar. I'm just saying that look, he's got his take on it.
I'm not calling him a liar. I'm saying if it popped out, I want to see evidence.
What we'll do is I think maybe on the next forward, I'll bring that clip in. I've got it in slow motion and regular speed, and we'll just watch it over and over and over and make our own analysis to see if what happened there.
Well, I don't get to catch a lot of the.
Yeah, that's true. Speaking of, let me explain what's coming up on the future shows so everybody knows. I always like to do that.
Oh my God! Remembered without me having to remind him.
Yes, I did. So coming up on our next show, which is going to be, I don't think it's Keaton's show. It's going to be the next show we're going to have is going to be Forward with me and Canary Kid a week from tomorrow. And look at who our guest is, Dave. Oh, I got to get rid of that comment. Sorry.
Revolution Keaton.
It's going to be Wrestling Revolution Keaton and our guest on forward. And look at the shirt. Look at the shirt, Dave. Look at the shirt that Keaton's wearing. I'm his real hero, Crusher Crossen. And as you can see, he's got the 5-time champ shirt on. How about that?
Well,
How about that?
You put out the Crusher shirt. You haven't put out the Dixie Dave shirt yet.
Well, yeah, but we're talking about, it's all about me and my needs, Dave. Look at Crusher Crossen, 5-time champ, and Keaton's sporting the shirt just like badass Ben Nelson does when he goes to the gym, and he wears one too. And that,
Ben Nelson wears one because he needs a shirt that he doesn't give a damn about and can get nasty, and he doesn't care if it gets ruined.
Well, but the thing with Keaton is we're bringing him on, NIPW junior trainee. As you can see, we're going to watch some of his training footage. This is going to be a great show. Keaton, it's been a while since we've had him on forward, and I do the podcast with Keaton, obviously, but he's going to be a guest with me and Canary Kid. And here's the thing, though. He's wearing a Crusher Crossen shirt here, but he has been doing nothing but cheerleading for the Canary Kid and telling everybody how I'm disrespecting the Canary Kid, and I'm going to get double teamed by these guys.
Well, he's just speaking facts.
Oh, man, I'm going to get double teamed by these guys. But you know what? I've done those handicap matches, as you know, guys. I've done the 2-on-1, 3-on-1. I can handle these guys, so we'll let them bring it. Look who we got in the house. I'm going to get rid of this and just bring a couple comments in before I go to the next thing. We've got Gizmo here. And I know Gizmo's been busy with Sky Sports work. So he says, "Hi guys, I've been watching your podcasts. They are great." So yeah, I know your deal. You told me already that you're going to be super busy with events and stuff going on Thursdays. So we miss you. We miss all your comments because you guys are good. But we had King Coop in tonight and he was commenting with us, and Wayne joined us, and it was great. We had some good conversation. And then Gizmo says the video basketball and baseball is ending in 2 weeks. After that, we'll be back with you every day. Well, that'll be great. And then, so in 2 weeks, you say, huh? So yeah, so you should be around for the finale of when we get to this title match coming up with in Ireland. So that'll be fun.
Yep.
And we're going to be doing by the way, just a little news on that. When I go to Northern Ireland at the end of the month and here, we're going to be doing a special live NWF Forward from the dojo inside the ring with me, the Canary Kid, and Ben Nelson all together in person. That ought to be an interesting show.
And just so you guys realize, due to Crusher Crossen's travel plans, we'll be doing the show in 2 weeks, and then there won't be another show for Rewind until after he gets back from Ireland.
Right. And we'll be doing a special. So like we have a forward there with Keaton coming up. Then we got the next Rewind with me and Dave to do part 2 of this 86 Armory card. And then me and Ricky come back again with another NWF forward, our final one in the studio here before I go out there. And that's going to be with, I have a gear maker coming on for that. Just a little something different, but something for the new people getting started in wrestling, how we're going to get gear. Tina Louise is where they can get gear from. She's got some great stuff, and I'm going to be showcasing that. But we'll talk about that after we get through the Keaton show. And then, of course, that live, the week we would normally do a Rewind, we're going to be doing a live NWF Forward since I will be in Northern Ireland. I told Dave, I said, Dave, I'm going to have a hard enough time getting adjusted to the time zones. I cannot do an NWF Rewind at 2 a.m. It's just not going to work.
Sure.
That's why Ricky never comes on this with us. So,
well, he rarely shows up.
Yeah.
He's commented here and there.
And Gizmo says we're all sorry we missed your last show with the belts. Yeah, with all the guys, like with Ace and Kelsey. That would have been great to have you be able to ask questions with those guys. Man, that was, as you know, Kelsey was in complete character. He was playing heel big time. Hot Stuff Kelsey was in the house. It was an interesting conversation, to say the least.
Kelsey wasn't just being a heel. Kelsey was just being Kelsey.
Well, Kelsey was being Kelsey, and boy, Ricky loved it up. And them two just hit it off like you thought they'd have been bosom buddies, those two, man, the way they were going complimenting each other the whole time. Kelsey kept saying, "Oh, I love this kid. I love this kid because he gets under Crossen's skin. I love it." Yeah. Ace was actually defending me, I gotta say. Even though Ace was a heel, he was defending the 5-time. It was a good show. It was good. You guys can all catch that in replay if you missed it. You just watch it again. It's on the live tab down there with past shows on our channel. But it was a great interview with all them guys. We had some really good conversation. You even listened to it, Dave.
Oh, bits and pieces, yeah.
Yeah.
With the forward shows, you never know when I'm going to pop in with a comment.
Yep. We always see you in there, and Canary gets so excited. Canary always said he wanted to do a show with Dixie Dave one time, So I don't know. Maybe one of these days when I can't make a forward show, you can fill in for me.
Well, everybody loves Dixie Dave.
Yeah. Let's see. Then King Coop says that should be pretty interesting. So yeah. And I got to tell you what's coming up on some other shows here too. I'll get to that in a second. But then Gizmo says, last thing, you really have to put up a schedule on your website so we can follow. Yes, I agree, Gizmo. I'm going to do that, actually. I need a schedule for both forward and rewind. And I got to do that.
Well, you used to have a schedule up last year for when the shows were.
Mm-hmm.
So you've already got the format for it.
Well, that's just like we're going to be on this day. They know we're on Thursdays. So
right.
What I think they want is to know exactly what we're going to be covering and stuff too. Like, what's the episode going to be? What's the topic? Like, what show are we doing? Like a real proper. And I know I have a lot of that planned out right now, all the way through, I think, October, at least for Rewind.
Yep.
So, and yeah, I'm going to do that. But another thing, Gizmo, if you haven't subscribed to my Instagram, let me get this comment out of here. That Instagram channel, because on Instagram, I'm always posting stuff, especially what we're going to have coming up this week on whatever show we're doing. I have little things I put up all the time on Instagram that'll tell you. So that's one way to follow it during the week. If you're on Instagram, just, follow the Instagram, follow us on Instagram there. And then you'll definitely know what's coming up each week, because each week I keep pointing that out. But I want to get a schedule on the website too. I think that's a good idea. And let me get back to the layers here so I can tell you what else is coming up. So after we have Wrestling Revolution Keaton. And by the way, did you notice, Dave, this show a little earlier? It's going to be 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. So that's for Keaton because he can't stay up too late, with his diabetes and stuff. So yeah, we'll be 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific on this one on May 9th. So a bit earlier. Okay. And then Keaton's next show would be a week from Sunday, and he's got Harlan Wolf. Now, I don't know anything about Harlan Wolf, so this ought to be a learning thing for me. That's going to be May 11th, so the Sunday after. And it's interesting. Me and Ricky are going to be doing NWF Forward Wrestling Revolution Keaton on May 9th. Guess what? That's the exact anniversary of this Armory show we just watched, and that's something. Yep. So yeah, and that's what's coming up there. And then Dave and I, in 2 weeks, this is what we're doing. It's part 2. So we're going to have the rest of the show of Superstars Spectacular 86. So this should be a good one, part 2. And
I'm just going to say this. If you're interested in watching the whole show all at once, get in contact with Crossen or myself. We have DVDs of the full show.
Yep, the full show on DVDs, or join the network, the Video Network. This whole show is going up on the Video Network on the 15th, as well as the YouTube premium members subscription. So either the Vimeo Network or YouTube, basically they mirror each other. So whatever you get on the Vimeo Network, you get on YouTube Premium. As far as I shouldn't say YouTube Premium. You get on, if you subscribe to our championship club, you get access to all this stuff.
Right.
In full HD. So yeah, that's gonna be kind of neat. So I'm looking forward to this show. Lots of fun stuff coming up, and boy, oh boy, am I ever getting excited to go out to Northern Ireland and get in the ring again and referee. Yeah. And like I said, guys, I'm starting to, now that Gizmo's here, I want to repeat this. This match is the 40th anniversary championship match. So I asked Nathan Hoy, who's the promoter, I said, do you have a problem if I do a traditional start? And for those of you who don't know what a traditional start is, it's like they do in boxing to this very day. And wrestling championship matches used to be done this way. It's where you bring the wrestlers to the center of the ring. They stare at each other, and I go over the rules. No closed fists. Open hand slaps are legal. Forearms, elbows, knee drops are legal. No shots below the solar plexus. If you kick with
the champion would hand over their belt if it's a title match.
If it was. And then I point to the bottom of the boot. All kicks with the bottom of the foot only. And it's basic rules, right? And then I ask them, now, gentlemen, shake hands and go to your respective corners. We'll see what happens there with the tension with these two if they actually do a handshake. And yeah, it's a traditional start. So yeah, they're cool with it. They want me to. Nathan loves that stuff. So yeah, he said, absolutely, let's do it.
To me, the only way the handshake wouldn't happen is if Ben's still sour grapes over, Ricky taking the first match.
Well, taking the first match by going after his bad knee.
Well, that's the thing about wrestling, though. If you know your opponent's got a weak point, exploit it.
They're best friends.
Well,
I know all too well what happens when you put a championship match in front of your friendship. Me and Kelsey went 6 weeks without talking to each other and destroyed part of our friendship.
But you guys got...
Is that what they want? Is that what they want?
You guys got over it.
We got over it, but we're never the same. I'm just saying. For their sake, I hope they can get this thing... I hope it doesn't get ugly. Let's just say that. But I'm going to be there reffing it. I'm going to keep law and order in that ring. Come hell or high water, you can be rest assured of that.
The thing is, though, do they want the friendship or do they want the fame and the glory?
Well, right. You know what? You know what's happening here, Dave? It's very obvious. They're falling into the same trap me and Kelsey fell into when we were at that age. They are looking at that championship belt and they want it.
Right.
That's what's happening.
Everybody else who's going to get a shot at it.
I mean, that is exactly what's happening. So let's just see how they handle this. I really was shocked that Canary went after his knee like that. This is not the same Canary kid that I came across on the internet when I first seen him. He's something about him he's got a different edge to him right now.
Here's the thing. There's one thing of being the NIPW junior champion. No disrespect meant if Nathan sees this, no disrespect meant to your championship or your company. But there's a whole nother factor of being a world heavyweight champion.
Yeah, to say you're a world champion. I mean, it is a world championship that's coming from America. For them, they're winning a title that was defended over here, and now they have it over there. And who knows where they'll go with it, whoever wins.
Right.
So it's like, that's cool. That's kind of cool stuff. And let's just see what happens with that. King Coop says he has to go, but it was great seeing both of us. It was really cool seeing you. I'm glad you stopped in, Coop. You got to stop in more often if you can. I know it's busy and life happens, but I really enjoy it when you come in and talk. So me and Dave both do.
We enjoy all the comments from all of our regulars.
Mm-hmm.
We enjoy when new people come in and they comment.
Which we've had here and there. And I know there's a lot of people that watch us. Like we got, I don't know, half a dozen people watching. A lot of people aren't talking. And that's fine. Not everybody's a talker. And I don't, that's okay. You don't have to. But don't feel shy or bashful. We take everybody's comments in here. And no, there's nothing we will not answer here unless it's inappropriate.
Correct. We are, when you're invited to our show as a viewer, or if you come across us, just know when we do these shows on Thursday nights, we're live. If you're watching it Thursday between, the time frames that we're live, we're actually live. We'll take your questions. We're not a pre-recorded show. Crushers brought it to me to become a pre-recorded show, and I said no.
And Dave nixed it, and Canary nixed it too. I brought it up with Ricky for forward, and he's like, no, doing it live is what makes it fun. So, and then It's funny. Last show we had, I forgot the comments, and there was only one person commenting, and he was a kind of a Canary Kid fan, and he's like, said, "Do more fireman's carries." He was like, he wants to see the fireman's carry, and Ricky's like, "Really? He wants me to do the fireman's carry?" He's like, "I don't understand. I don't know what it is. Some people just like certain moves, and they like seeing them. And this guy was a fan of the fireman's carry, and it was just funny listening to Ricky. Like, really, he wants me to do fireman's carries?
Well, now we know why you didn't bring comments in is because they were singing the praises of the Canary Kid.
I did bring him in at the end. I just missed it when they came in. So I wasn't even, we were so busy talking that I didn't even look at the comment feed. I knew Gizmo and them wouldn't be there, and they're most of our comments when they're here. Today we were lucky and we had Wayne and Gizmo come in. Or King Coop. But yeah, it was a good show. It was fun, and I always enjoy it. And like I said, next show it's going to be the second half of this show. Looking forward to it. And we'll see what happens there. And like I said, a week from tomorrow, earlier time. In fact, I'll bring it up one more time just because it's a special guest. And that is Wrestling Revolution Keaton. If you remember, way back on a Rewind show, Dave, we had him on as a guest.
Yep.
And he was like my second guest of people that are new in this training. He was my second one. Subfirst Sonny was first. Keaton was number 2.
Yep.
And
I can remember that with this show, it was specifically requested that I come in.
And if you notice Keaton's face, look at his face. He's shedding weight, Dave. He is the training that he's doing at NIPW. You can see it's really starting to take his form and shape with him. You can see it. You can see it in him.
Yep.
So, it's good for him. And I'm looking forward. When I go out to Ireland, I'll be doing I don't really want to call it a seminar, but it's going to be kind of a seminar. And I'm going to be working with the kids, and I'm going to be specializing working with them on the drop kick. So
yep.
I'm going to show them how I kind of trained on it and how I would practice it. I'll try to throw one or two. It's not easy for me to do anymore, but I can still do it. It's just not as easy as it used to be. But mainly I want to let them see the form and the way I do it. And then once I do one of them, then I can let them keep practicing and do it the same way and then work with them. So that's my plan.
You know what? You'll have to do me a favor next week when you're on with Keaton. You'll have to tell him I said hello.
Yeah,
He'll make this day.
Yep, he'll. I'm sure he's going to come in full character and he's going to try to give me a hard time. Once he's seen Keaton, behind the scenes, really loved that last show we did with Ace and Kelsey. It was his favorite one yet. And he said when we're on his show, he's like, I was saying how how could Ricky go after Ben's knee when they're best friends and try to hurt his knee even more? And Keaton's like, well, he never went and broke his friend's jaw like you did. Now I've broken Kelsey's jaw. I didn't just dislocate it. I've broken his jaw, according to Mr. Wrestling Revolution Keaton.
Well, he's a young kid. He's just stating what he feels.
Well, it'll be a fun show. I'm looking forward to this one. Earlier time again, 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific. So if any of you guys are around for that time, that'll be a good one to watch. Looking forward to it.
Maybe you'll get lucky and see me pop a comment.
Well, you always comment sometimes, so you never know. So,
well, Crusher, is it always or is it sometimes?
Well, sometimes, I guess. I think it's a matter if you're sleeping or not.
Well, Fridays normally I'm not sleeping. It's just if I'm around when you guys are on.
Right. I'll tell you something, though. This is an interesting thing. So I'm going to pull the curtain up. The NWF Forward show, I started originally with just me. And Dave had just met his future wife and had a lot going on. And he could commit to twice a month, but he didn't want to do every month with me, which was fine. Didn't have a problem with that. So I was just doing Forward by myself. Ricky then came to me and said, I know you got a host for Rewind or co-host. Would you ever consider letting me be co-host on Forward? I really I think we could make it good and entertaining. And he pitched me on it. And I'm so glad I did it because it's been such a fun show ever since. And yes, we go at it with each other, But it's an entertaining way that we do it, and it's been a lot of fun, and it's really brought it back for me again to be able to kind of be in character again, and that's what brought me and Dave into character more too, just from what Ricky did for us. So that's all Ricky. That was all Ricky, you guys. It was his idea. He pitched me, and I'm so glad it happened. And because of that, Dave, this championship match is happening.
Yep.
I don't think it would have happened if we didn't do forward and we didn't have Ricky come on with us. And
well, you know,
I don't think it would have happened.
Okay. Now let's back up here a minute, because you're giving Ricky all the props.
I am. For
But,
forward.
for
forward.
Right. But you got to look back at it. If it wasn't for me, there wouldn't be a forward or a rewind.
Well, this is true. But let's roll it back a little further and go back to 1986, and specifically the night we just watched.
Right.
If it wasn't for Crusher Crossen, there would be no Dixie Dave to make a rewind or a forward. Am I correct?
Right.
So I guess what I'm trying to say, I'm not trying to be a Mr. McMahon, but what I'm trying to say is I guess it all comes down to Mr. Crossen here.
You see, the inevitable would have happened, and Dave would have ended up in the wrestling business.
No, I'm going to give Dave his props on this. It was totally Dave's idea to do this podcast. I had no clue how to do any of it. And I'm like, I don't know if I know how to do it. And Dave's like, wouldn't it be fun, though, if we could do it again and just, do a show on the...
Okay, back up, rewind. Okay, here's the thing. Crusher came to me. We were talking, and he's like, I wish that there was a way that we could go out and tell our stories, show our show. And without even thinking, I just said to him, what about doing a podcast? And that's when he said he wasn't sure.
Because I didn't know how. I did not know how. And so I had no clue. And I had to...
I did a little research. Crusher did a little research. And lo and behold, he comes to me one day and he says, I think I'm going to do the whole podcast deal. Yeah. He goes, but there's a catch. I said, what's the catch? He goes, you're doing it with me.
Right, because I didn't want to do it by myself. And Dave and I started out like very...
vanilla.
We were vanilla, but like we told our story and we tried to have all the insights and stories with all the stuff we watched in the beginning. And one thing that Ricky brought to the table is like when he came on, he goes, I really think we should be more in character because it makes it more entertaining and not just so dry.
Right.
And I was cool with that. So that's why that's why we're always in character, me and him, a lot of times. We make it more entertaining. We get our guests now to come in character too, and they do it as well. It's what the indie business is all about. Right. So it's like we try to showcase that.
You live your gimmick.
Yeah, we try to do that, and then that's what makes it interesting. And so Dave then notices we're having fun with our characters on forward, and so he decides to become the character he always wanted to be, the Diamond Dave heel with his Dixie Dave with the heel edge. And so, but I always school him because I can always out talk Dave, and Dave knows it. Just like I out talk Canary,
Well, I mean, I let you out talk me.
I'll say this about Ricky though, he and I the reason we work so well on forward is he knows how to talk and so do I. And when you got two guys who can talk, you make it very interesting stuff. And it's not that Ricky's that good, although I think he is, as far as a talker. And it's not that I'm that good. It's just me and him are really good together on forward, just like you and I are really good together here. It just works.
It's like when we bring Jamie in,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Jamie's he's my favorite guest we've ever had.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's just such a good storyteller. That's what you want. You want talkers and storytellers. That's what makes these kind of shows interesting. Sometimes I talk too much and Ricky reminds me. And sometimes Ricky talks too much and I remind him. And same with us.
You get a word in when Crusher's running his mouth.
Yeah. Let's see. Gizmo says, Sea Crusher making one little mistake, like letting Dixie Dave in and giving him the belt. Now you can't get rid of him. And then he says, Dave, we love you.
Oh, I know everybody loves Dixie Dave.
Well, I don't know about that. I don't think Steve loved Dixie Dave too much in that match.
Well, Steve doesn't matter to me.
It's just, here's the thing. I brought Ace and Kelsey back on to talk to these kids, and they graciously accepted it, my invitation to do it. And I invited Mr. X, Steve, to come on, but Steve just never got back to me, except once. So I knew he was getting my messages. So I don't know. He didn't. I wished he would have been there. Would have been great to have all of us who actually held the blue belt talk to those kids. And Steve was great. He was like, as far as a wrestler, holding that belt, having all those title matches with me.
Right.
He was a big part of it.
Because, you defended against him as Pretty Boy Taylor. You defended against him as Mr. X.
And he was, well, there's another guy that was super smooth for me, not for you.
Yep.
But yeah, he was as smooth as butter for me in that ring that I could do a match with my eyes closed with Steve. We just had the gel. We gelled together so well.
Well, Steve knew if he didn't treat you right, you'd get rid of him. So.
Well, I don't know about that. I think I'm talking about the early days. I'm not talking about the Luscious Larry era. But, in those early days, he was really good. He wanted to make this a thing. He wanted to make our matches count. He cared.
Right.
But something happened when he got with Larry. Something went off in his head. He thought he was going to make it a big time league without us. And he fell for Larry's pitch of all this bullshit and went into a different direction. And then the Steve Engstrom I knew was gone.
Yep. They went in their own direction and they flopped.
Yeah, didn't work out for them either. But that's a whole story, and that's all in my book. It's all in the documentary that Dave was talking about that he's got a lot of DVDs of.
Yep.
And that story's been told. But so yeah, it's been a great show. I suppose, Dave, it's getting about the 2-hour mark, so I suppose we can kind of wrap it up. But
yep.
Hope everybody enjoyed it. Thanks for staying with us and talking. Thanks for coming on, Gizmo. Even if you came in late, it's great to have you here.
Next week, enjoy Forward. Sorry you got to put up with Crusher. And then 2 weeks, we'll be back here. I'll be back, and you can enjoy your night.
And check out Instagram, guys. I can't stress that enough. Check out our Instagram channel because
check out Instagram if you're.
I put reels up every day on there, pretty much, and little snippets from the shows that we do. So if you miss the show, you can get the highlights.
Yep.
And
for new viewers, if there's new viewers out there that are watching that aren't commenting, go back and watch some of the older episodes. I mean.
Yeah, they're fun to watch.
Another thing you viewers to do, if you like the show today, click that like button.
And I have channel lists for all this. So you can go into our channel list on our channel and you can see all the Rewind shows. You can see all the Forward shows.
And
it's easier that way.
You're going to see people you wouldn't expect to be hanging with two nobodies like Crusher and I.
Yeah, sometimes you get some pretty good guests.
Former TNA World Tag Team Champion Hernandez, Super Mechs.
Sean Hernandez, great guy.
Oh, yeah.
I'm really glad I got to know him.
Oh, yeah. I'd actually like to get a hold of him about something, but.
Yeah, he's just a very good-hearted guy. He's doing a good thing there in San Antonio for the kids that he's got coming in. He's doing a kids summer camp right now that he's going to be starting up. Yeah, good program there. And Joe Bird, Pure Pro, and Primo's Premier and Daryl. I want to make a shout out to Daryl over there at Primo's Premier, Daryl Becker. Going to have some surgery coming up here. It needs to be done. You know how it is in this business, Dave. You take too many bumps and then you got to take care of some stuff. And so I'm wishing a full recovery when he gets that surgery.
One thing I want to forewarn Ricky and Ben both about, and I guess Keaton, because he's going through the training, watch your bump card.
Yeah. Well, Ricky's already saying, his back's always sore, his back's hurting. I'm telling you something. just keep that stuff under control, because as you keep doing it, Dave and I, we can tell you when the weather changes.
Oh yeah.
So it's like, and that's just from abusing our body, even for the short time we did it, and so your back is a great thing, but when you abuse your back, when I'm talking about taking bumps with it, you will feel it decades later.
Oh yeah.
So, it's the thing.
So, but we'll wrap this up.
Yep.
Everybody, you have a good week. Crush will see you next week on Forward. I'll see you 2 weeks on Rewind.
Yep. Earlier time for Forward next Friday, but we'll see you then.
All righty. Later, everybody.